Still safe? Is it buffet or is it just a restaurant?
It's a restaurant. If you
Okay,
haven't been there, it's good.
check it out. It's in Bountiful.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds good. Jared, what was the story on that truck you guys were cutting out the floor?
It was a crane going over trappers, lost its brakes on the way down towards the Pineview side.
Oh,
Is that the first time the 41 heavy rescue's been called up to the valley?
Oh no, no, it's probably, I would guess in the summer it's probably once a month or so. Not so much in the winter, but this summer they get pretty busy up there. We with this new agreement though, Ogden's going to send theirs first before they call us, so that'll be good. We won't have to run as far.
When does Ogden get there?
So they have an engine right now that's a quote unquote light, moderate heavy. It's not as equipped as ours. So they already have it set up and running. We're running this since February 1st. So
What station
Ogden
does
has,
that?
what's that?
What station does that run out of?
It's running out of the Harrison station, station 2.
Okay.
So
Close to the valley.
close to the valley.
Hey,
Yep.
Sexy. Hey, I'm just wondering, we know what's going on with Back 9. Are those guys still doing their due diligence stuff?
Yeah, we're gonna back off a little bit. Let me find out.
Yeah, I'd just like to see it. They called me. We had a good hour and a half discussion, and I just haven't heard back anything. So I was wondering what you knew.
Yeah, good question. I'll find out and let you know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, my brother. Bye.
So, Jared, was anybody hurt in that rollover?
The gentleman broke his leg and had some chest injuries, but he should be fine.
Okay.
But yeah, they just couldn't get out with the crane sitting on top of the cab where it was,
That's
so
why
they
you
had to
cut
pull
out
him
the
out the
base?
floor.
Okay.
What's that?
That's why you cut out the floor, right?
Yeah.
Don't forget the diesel fuel spilling all over the place while you're doing it.
Yeah, there's 50 gallons already on the ground, and he had 300-gallon saddle tanks. So
Oh my gosh.
it was a good hazmat response as well.
You guys are amazing.
Do a good job for sure. We had Ogden, Weber Fire District, and us up there. So
So,
Mayor Pro
Rich,
Tem, you running this thing?
I wasn't planning on it, but yeah, I wonder where the mayor is. He's never late.
He is here. I'm just maybe running just a minute late or two.
Or 3?
Or 3.
No, we're not getting technical or anything. Motion to adjourn.
He's a little frustrated. He's trying to get in and he can't. So I'm gonna try to send him this link.
It's Bill's fault.
Motion dies for lack of second.
Everybody goes home.
Yeah, there you go. You're looking at my blanket. Okay. Playing the Jeopardy music.
Somebody's being wise, huh? Couldn't get in, sorry. I put in meeting numbers and passwords and URLs and lots of stuff. Bill sent me another link, so I'm in, so. We have all the council present. Got Alan, it looks like, Braden. How about Brent?
Here.
Okay, how about Bart?
Here.
Thanks, Bart. Steve Hilton?
Here.
Good, thank you. Sorry to be slow. Said a meeting hadn't started yet, and then we got all kinds of different stuff. So. Like to welcome you to our City Council work session this evening. For the record, all City Council members are present, as are members of the staff. We welcome anyone that might be visiting with us this evening. Do we have any public comment, Shailene?
I have not received any emails. Nothing's on the YouTube, and nobody is in the room either.
Okay, super. I'm going to take the moment of silence. I didn't do that, trying to catch up here. So at this time, we'd like to take a moment of silence. As we take a moment of silence, we invite you to remember those who are serving in our military, those who protect our country and our way of life. We would ask you to remember our police and fire, our first responders, and those who put themselves in harm's way on a daily basis. And would you remember our city councils that make decisions this evening that are important to the community. We'll now take a moment of silence.
Mayor, do we do that during work session?
You know what? No, we don't.
Sorry.
It's all right. Okay, move on to presentations and reports. Got two things tonight. Just quickly remind you of our league convention coming up on the 21st through the 23rd. If you haven't signed up and registered, this Friday is the last day to do without a late fee. So we just, if you care to go to that, I know 2 or 3 have already signed up. So that's the day they would like you to sign up, this Friday. I also asked Mr. Eggett, as part of the mayor's report this evening, if he would give you a quick economic development outlook, kind of let you know what's going on, give you an update. And we're going to start doing that on the first meeting of every month. He'll just give you a short update so you're kind of up to speed on what's happening. So I think that'll help you, your contact with residents. So go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. Do you want me to do it during this meeting or the main meeting? Do you have a preference?
You can do it now.
Okay, perfect. Harbor Freight Tools, they obviously are open for business. They've been open for roughly over a week. I think that they're probably doing very well. I've seen it busy over there. We're happy to have them here. Five Below will be opening at the end of April. That's more on their timeline than us. We're done with them. We've issued their a full building permit, and they need to still follow through with their I guess final permit is what I meant. And they still need to follow through with their certificate of occupancy as far as their business license is concerned. So that's kind of the last thing they need to do is get that business licensing done. Dutch Brothers Coffee, they are just waiting on some items with Public Works to be completed. Everything's pretty much ready to go with the building permit side. Once their Mylar is recorded, they should be ready to open for, well, they should be ready to get going, not open for business, but get going with their site and construction there soon thereafter. AutoZone, they are now joining with Pet Boys. They're doing a partnership. So AutoZone will be moving into the Pet Boys location. Pet Boys is getting out of the auto parts industry, and they're tying in all the AutoZones into their store. So Pet Boys will only do servicing. I don't know if they'll do still tire vending as well, or if they'll just be out of that business altogether and just do servicing, but that will be forthcoming. You'll see some changes there. The Green Hill Apartments at Riverdale, the framing is completed on that building. So if you're driving kind of north and you look to your east corner, you'll see that building, the framing's up, and they're in their final inspection on the framing only. That will continue to move forward. And then we did receive the building permit application and documentation for Raising Cane's finally. That was just this week. So that will start to move forward in reviewing their plans. And the footing and foundations for the other 2 buildings, Cafe Rio and Mobedas, has been completed and approved, and they'll start working on plumbing next and then coming out of the ground thereafter. So I think that's pretty much it, Mayor, unless there's any questions for me.
Do you have any questions for Mike? Okay, thanks, Mike. Move on next to the consent items. Consideration to approve the meeting minutes for our March 16th, 2021 City Council work session, and also the minutes for the City Council regular session on that same evening. Do you have any changes or corrections? Thank you. Move on. Action items tonight. We have 2 action items. Consideration of resolution 2021-07. This is declaring ambulance equipment as surplus. Chief Shawley.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a piece of equipment for our gurney. We have an automatic load system on our new ambulance, and come to find out we didn't need it, but we ordered it over a year ago and the company won't take it back. So we need to get rid of it. I already have a buyer. Layton City's interested in taking it.
Do you have any questions for Chief Shawley?
Chief, is that because the new ambulance has one built in?
Yeah, we got a new gurney through CARES funding, and the New Gurney came with one where it wasn't going to before.
Okay. Move on to action item 2, consideration to correct resolution number 2021-03 to 2021-01. Shaylee Nay, our city recorder.
So on this, we had an item that was tabled at the very first meeting of the year, and I just did not go back to that, so that was my fault. So I just need to have it changed because I had 2021-03 in there twice. So I'm just changing the budget, the last item that we had for the budget, to 2021-01. So it's just a motion to get that corrected.
Okay, do we have any changes or corrections? Or excuse me, any questions for Shaylee on this? Okay, thank you. Any discretionary business for this meeting? Okay, need a motion to adjourn the work session meeting.
Mayor, I have a couple of questions that I was going to save for after the end of the discretionary. I can bring them up now if we have a minute.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. First, on March 2nd, we had a meeting with Philpott, Lewis, and Young. Robinson did a presentation on enhanced revenue. And after that was presentation, Mr. Cody asked for feedback or input on what was presented, and that was quickly cut off because it wasn't an agenda item. Do you see that being an agenda item in the near future? And if not, can we get it on the agenda?
Bill, do you want to comment on that? I've got my thoughts.
Or were you going to tie that into approval of the budget?
Bill, are you there? They won't do that on the night approval of the budget, I don't believe, but that needs to come back, Bart. I've kind of wondered about that. I mentioned in that first meeting, that's an election. It's an election year this year. And we've got some of our people are going to be involved in that when you talk about instituting new fees and raising fees and doing things like that. I'm not sure how much the council members want to be doing that because they have to answer to the public. So I don't know. Maybe you can share your thoughts on it, council, what you think. But that's kind of what I've thought. I know there's 2 or 3 council members probably not going to comment on raising fees and that because I know it was brought up with Fred Philpott, and I know 1 or 2 people that I think will be running, they didn't care to comment on it. So I'm wondering, is this really a good time to be discussing it? I think those things need to be looked at sometime.
You know what? I had a lot to say that night. Not a lot, but I had some thoughts. And it's not binding. I think a discussion is healthy, and I would like to at least have a discussion. And so, yes, I would, because what we actually do, just the presentation, if it puts it out there that, yes, there is a need, there's a discussion needs to be made or had by the council. Now, we're not coming up with a timeline or anything. We don't have to do that. But I think a discussion is appropriate.
I agree with you. Something needs to be looked at down the road. Something's going to have to be done between now and, in the future, fairly near future from what I see. So,
Mayor?
I don't think, go ahead.
If there's a possibility of doing some sort of studies or information to us before we have a discussion to see what's actually being proposed, what the implications are of each fee or, you know, how it works. Just, I mean, I would like to have some education on that, a little more in depth than what I think that I know before we actually have a, you know, on the record discussion. I think that would be really helpful.
I think that's a good idea also. It seemed that Fred Philpott was going to go back and do some more research, wasn't he, Bill?
A little bit. So we'll get an update on that report as soon as it's available. We've got a little bit more money in that fund to put towards such a study. And Cody and I have been working to behind the scenes a little bit to kind of put together a report amongst ourselves from the staff that kind of talks about the things that have been mentioned, looking at the different sources of revenue and not necessarily a firm timeline that we would vote on. Obviously, that would come from the council and, you know, that would be agreed upon by the council. But our thought was if we could put it in a kind of a resolution maybe and get the council to vote on that resolution at some point, that would help take some of the politics out of it. Because if we've agreed to something and we've agreed to a timeline and a path forward with the kinds of concerns that we have in diversifying our tax base, that would make it a lot easier for not only our citizens to know what to plan for, but future councils would know what the discussion was and have a path forward. Cody and I feel like that would really be helpful. And so we're putting something together like that and working with Fred Philpott. Obviously, we're in the throes of doing this year's budget right now, and so that's kind of taking our focus a little bit. But our thought was once the budget was done and approved, at least tentatively, that we'd have more time to focus on those things and get back to you. So probably mid to late summer timeframe, we'd be ready to have that back for you guys.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Does that help, Bart?
Sure. And I have one other thing if we have time, or I can do it at the end. And I guess this is more for Mr. Eggett. And that is when I'm on Riverdale Road, on the south side of the street by Honey Bake Ham, there's a trailer parked out there, a fifth wheel, double axle trailer, and it's all adorned and for Kirk's shoe store, you know, and it looks nice. It's not junky or anything. It looks nice, but it's a trailer, and I think there's a shaved ice place that goes there during the summer. And the thought occurred to me: is that between? Is there an ordinance on parking, long-term parking of RVs and trailers, or is that signage, or is that between the property owner and the tenant? If you wouldn't comment on that, because it's, to me, seeing a fifth wheel trailer parked on Riverdale Road is a bit unsightly, even though it's a billboard essentially.
Yeah. Anything, Mike, on that?
It's a fair question. I'll look at the code with Mr. Brooks. I can call the property owner as well. I do have a relationship with them and talk about that. But it's a fair comment. I'll get it looked at and take care of it. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just curious. For all I can remember, I think that trailer disappears when the shaved ice shack comes out.
You're correct. Yes, you're correct.
And then, which begs the question: does the shave ice place have a permit? I think it does. So does the trailer have a permit? Anyway, that's more of a rhetorical question. Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Bart, for that. Move on next to our RDA board agenda for this evening. We have one action item tonight, discussion / consideration to set a public hearing on April 20th, 2021 to receive and consider comments regarding a budget amendment for the RDA Riverdale Landing Project. Mr. Kobe, do you want to take that, or Mr. Eggett?
I think I'll just mention this one really quick. If that's all right, Mike. I'm probably not hurting your feelings. You've received in your packet a budget, a proposed budget for the project, it is a revision to the already approved budget amount. So we need to hold a public hearing to amend the RDA budget to allow for the expanded and enhanced costs associated with building out the public improvements in this area.
Okay, you got any questions for Mr. Kobeb? Okay, next we have a closed executive session scheduled. That's for the purpose of discussing RDA controlled real estate. We'll do that in the RDA meeting. We have discretionary business. Is there any discretionary business for the work session for this meeting? Okay, move on next. We need to adjourn this work session. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Mitchell, was it Mr. Hilton?
Mr. Stevens.
Mr. Stevens, thank you, Bart. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned. We'll start our city council meeting at 6 o'clock p.m. Thank you.